I define creativity as something new that makes some contribution. So let me tell you how modest that could be. Have you ever walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and discovered like 3 ingredients are left?
Sure.
And you've somehow made something of that, or do you just order out?
You made your peanut butter sandwich.
You made your peanut, and somewhere along the line, some mom or dad walked into the kitchen and there were 3 ingredients, and he or she put that thing together and created dinner for the kids. That is a very modest form of creativity, but the reason I bring it up is that creativity can span from the modest all the way to the extraordinary, those things that change our world. And this is a particularly creative moment in time. May I just touch on the science of why that is?
Sure.
So this book, Inspired, starts in Jerusalem. And I started in Jerusalem because I thought to myself, well, so much of our understanding of creation itself comes from the stories here, whether you believe them or not, the mythologies, the tales. So much of it's rooted there.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. But I learned something incredible about Jerusalem that was not the reason I went there to begin with. Jerusalem had a population in the year 0 of about 500,000. Does that sound big or small to you?
In those days?
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge. It's a huge number, George. And the upshot of it being a huge number is there are lots of people talking to each other, communicating. In a way, it's an industry town. At that time, the industry's religion, and there's a lot of ideas and a lot of competition. Now let's go.
No social media.
True.
No radio.
Right.
No television. The only way to communicate is one-on-one.
One-on-one, or standing on a stump, like the prophets may have done, and speaking to a bunch of people who in turn build on those ideas, share those ideas. You can think of a rock as the original social media, not one you threw, but one you stood on.
That's why Jesus might have been so popular, the way he spoke to a crowd.
That's it. So in that respect, of course, there was no social media, but there was a socializing of media at that time in a very busy place. Here's what we've learned since. The research and science will bear out that over the years, there have been these enclaves of extraordinary creativity. Paris, parts of Russia, parts of Italy, Harlem, Los Angeles with Hollywood. You can go down the list. But think of this moment in time where anybody, anywhere can connect. To your mind, how would you rank that in terms of its creative potential?
Very high.
Maybe the highest it's ever been. I don't want to start boring.
I'm passing your quiz no matter what, right?
You are. I'm troubled because I came to stump you.
Not yet, but you might. It's not over yet.
Well, I don't know any good trivia, so it's a problem. But this is interesting. This is actually some really not so interesting trivia, but I'll throw it in. The number of international patents, meaning patents applied for by people across borders, has exploded. Now, how the heck are those people communicating?
Right.
The internet, the phone, email, various apps.
Social.
All social. Incredibly explosively creative period.
I've never seen kids pick up on technology so fast.
Yeah.
At a young age.
Yeah.
1 year old, 2 years old, they know how to play a smartphone. I couldn't have done that in those days. What are they going to be like when they get into the creative state?
Well, first of all, they're going to be able to feast on this extraordinary connection, but you've really asked a very significant question, and let me see if it's okay if I answer it this way. Can I talk a little bit about young people and creativity and what the science tells us about how creative young people are and why we sometimes lose that creativity as adults?
Sure.
Okay. So interestingly, researchers in the 50s and 60s started to really ask about creativity. And they started to ask, are kids creative? Do they lose creativity? Why? And they discovered something called the 4th grade slump. Are your grandkids in 4th grade yet?
One of them is, yes.
And are the others younger?
They're older.
They're older. Well, I don't given your family history of creativity, I'm not too worried. But here's what happens in 4th grade. It's incredible to think about this. Kids prior to the age of 4th grade in this very seminal study in the late 50s and 60s turn out to get less creative after 4th grade. The measure of the measure of creativity in this study is how many kind of random ideas do kids come up with? And they start coming up with ideas that are more cliched or more accepted or have been come up with before after 4th grade. Now, what's your guess as to why that might be?
Oh gosh, society changes it.
Tell me, keep going.
You know,
I haven't stumped you yet.
School changes it.
Boom.